Well, we are over 20 now.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. In the midst of God's children, the Lord said, I will be. It doesn't take very many. It can be just two or three. And I feel that same sweet spirit that I felt oft times before. Surely I can say that I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. There's a holy hush around us as God's glory fills this place. I've touched the hem of God's garment. I can almost see God's face, and my heart is overflowing with the fullness of God's joy. I know without a doubt that I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you, Unity Music Team. Good morning. My name is Jonna Capio, and I'll be your service leader today on this special day of celebration. As a part of marking the 40th anniversary of Unity of Bloomington's beginning today, we are celebrating the legacy of our first full-time minister, Reverend David LeBeau. David and his wife, Natalie, are moving to San Francisco next weekend to be closer to their sons and the newest member of their family, grandson Oliver Thomas LeBeau. We are so glad that you are with us today as we express our gratitude for the gift of his ministry. Welcome. So this is Unity of Bloomington. We offer practical spiritual teachings that empower abundant and meaningful living. We are a center for spiritual growth, and we provide inspiration, tools, and practices that support people on their path of spiritual growth. Please stand and join us in combining our voices in joyful song. Please join me in affirming our statement of being together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe, God the good, omnipotent. This power expresses life, love, wisdom, and abundance through me. In it, I live and move and have my being. Thank you. Please be seated. One way we empower abundant and meaningful living is by practicing and living our 5 basic principles. I will state the principle and invite you to respond with the affirmation. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in our lives, God the good, omnipotent. God is. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God is within each one of us. I am. We create the experience of our lives through our own thoughts and beliefs. I create. We become aware of our oneness through prayer and meditation. I pray. We transform our lives by putting all of these principles into practice. I live. This year, we are exploring and practicing ways in which we can embrace our own unlimited good. During the month of July, we're looking at the concept of forgiveness. Unity teaches that if I have been hurt or offended, I am always at choice in my own response. I can choose to let go of the negative energy, forgive, and forget the pain. As my own mind is cleansed by my own willingness to forgive, I am free to focus on and appreciate that which is good. My choice of love and forgiveness frees me for a constructive life. As I forgive others, I also refrain from condemning myself for past mistakes. When I focus on forgiveness in the present moment, I move forward in love while I also bless and release the past. Please join me in saying this month's affirmation. Together, I embrace forgiveness, giving and receiving it with grace. So some announcements for today. I would like to highlight these. Prayer support for today is given by Ruth Green. Please join her in the ministry office on the left side of the foyer if you have a prayer request or a celebration. You can also fill out a prayer request card, which you will find in the seat pocket in front of you. They can be placed in the offering bag. If you brought a page for Reverend David's memory book, which will be our gift to him today after the celebration, please leave it in the notebook on the table in the middle of the foyer before you leave. And there is a new time for Janice Jaffe's Singing Bowl meditation. Janice will resume her Singing Bowl meditation monthly, but at a new time of 2 p.m. So join her this month on the last Sunday, July 31st, in the chapel for an hour of renewal and healing. On July 24th, our guest speaker is Reverend John Spain. And on Tuesday, July 26th, Sakshi Zion, who is visiting from Hawaii, will lead Kirtan, a sacred chanting and sharing his stories and guided meditation at 5 p.m. in the Unity Chapel. So please check out our Facebook page for any more information. And then finally, on Sunday, July 31st, we're looking forward to a music Sunday led by Phyllis Wycliffe. So now we're going to practice a moment of silence together. And we are spiritual beings having a physical experience on this planet. With this experience come all the challenges of being very human together. There are places in our world where there is the appearance of conflict, where people are displaced and even dying. In the midst of all of this, we affirm there is no one person, situation, or force greater than the power of God, our one source of peace, strength, wisdom, and courage. Let us be silent now together in the one presence as we affirm divine order and the experience and expression of peace in every corner of our world. and so it is. So let us read from the Daily Word. The Daily Word is produced and printed by Unity. You can learn more about the Daily Word by visiting dailyword.com. The word for today is trust. And today, our affirmation is, I place my trust in God. Few things are a greater comfort than deep and abiding trust in God. When I trust, I move more confidently through life. I feel the wind at my back and am made strong in the face of adversity. In the past, I may have felt disappointed when I misplaced my trust. The things of the world are impermanent. Even ministers and good friends come and go. The truth of God as the one presence and power in the universe, and as my life is everlasting, unchanged, unchanging, through all the seasons of life. Even as I grow, evolve, and deepen in my own spiritual understanding, God is always my source, the inspiration I return to again and again. My freedom to seek and discover lies in the awareness that I can always trust in God. Trust in the Lord forever, for in the Lord God you have an everlasting rock. Isaiah 26:4. Now we'll join together in speaking the affirmation aloud. Together, I place my trust in God. And now repeat it to yourself silently. I trust my place in God. I place my trust in God. Reverend David LeBeau has a long and storied history with this spiritual community. You can read more about it in this morning's handout. Today actually marks the third time we have bidden farewell to Reverend David because his gifts have been far too valuable to do without. For this morning's celebration, Reverend David is going to speak for a few minutes, reflecting on his experience here and blessing us as he prepares to depart, moving farther geographically than after his previous farewells. Then we have invited some folks with significant history to say a few words of recognition and appreciation. And we'll use the microphone here. They will help us honor the spiritual influence and abiding presence of a man who has been involved in over 30 of Unity of Bloomington's 40 years as a center of spiritual growth. We have asked those speakers to come to this microphone. So after the service, we will also ask David and Natalie to move to the door to allow for us to be a receiving line and for anyone else to be able to share directly with David your thoughts and feelings with him. So now, our Unity music team will bless us with this special request. Ginger?
Thank you. Thank you, Jonna. This is my opportunity to speak, so I just wanted to just say how grateful I am for the influence that Reverend David and Natalie have had on my life. I began attending Unity in 2000. So I have now been here 22 years. I'm an old timer. And one of the biggest lessons that I have taken away is my relationship to how I shape my life. We see this reflected in our third principle where we say we create the experiences of our lives through our thoughts and our beliefs. When life happens, we have the tendency to label those things as either a good experience or a bad experience. And I can remember when David first introduced the idea, and I heard it. I'm sure he had been introducing this idea many times before, but when I was ready and I heard it, it was like, oh my goodness, I don't have to label things as good or as bad. Things just are. Life just happens. And it's up to me to decide how I'm going to incorporate that story into my life. And so I was remembering when we said our affirmation for this month. I embrace forgiveness, giving and receiving it with grace. And how most of the time I spend not forgiving other people, but forgiving myself. And the word that popped out to me was grace. Giving and receiving with grace. And I'm just reminded of that because David had asked for us to sing Amazing Grace. And that grace is that constant flow that's within our lives that allows us to take a breath when we're in those situations that are uncomfortable and to go, I get to choose who I am going to show up in this moment. And who are we? We're one with God. And I giggled a little bit in my mind when John transposed the words because it was perfect. I trust my place in God. Yes. Not only do I place my trust in God, but I trust my place. So, thank you so very much for the influence you continue to have as I explore that lesson daily in my life. Thank you.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to sing, and grace my fears relieve. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will bring me home. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Unity Music Team, and thank you, Phyllis, who always goes, oh, what are we doing this week? Here you go. We are truly blessed. And now we're going to prepare for meditation. by singing Peace, Be Still.
Peace be still, peace be still. Lo, I'm with you always, all sustaining, ever caring, all abiding life and love. We are one in the presence of God. Peace be still, peace be still. Know within all is well.
Getting comfortable, letting both feet rest on the floor, and letting our eyes gently close. Relaxing, letting our shoulders loosen and sink on an out breath. Feeling each breath as it comes and as it goes. And although this brings us into the presence of our natural wisdom, our Christ within, our mind often resists, wants something more. Just feel your breath for a few moments and see what happens. The thoughts begin, images pop in. It seems we may be clinging to some belief, running from some anxiety. But being still teaches us about ourselves, where we're blind, still, and helps us release the habits of thinking and doing and just come back to our breath, back to square one. This is our home, where we experience the simple feeling of being, our natural wisdom, our Christ within. And we can remind ourselves with a simple affirmation, I have arrived, I am home in the here and the now. I have arrived, I am home in the here and the now. Let's practice following our breath in the silence. whole chorus for the Hallelujah. Natalie and I were watching a movie about Tibet and getting the salt that they had produced all the year into Nepal for the supplies they needed. But they needed more help. And so the father went to his son, who is an artist, doing murals in a monastery, and said, "We need you to go on this trek." And initially the son said, "I'm an artist. I don't lead yaks through the snow." But he finally showed up, and the father said, "What changed your mind?" He said, "My teacher said, when you have two choices, take the difficult choice." We're all on a spiritual path, and they intersect many places, and sometimes they take a big turn. Ours took a big turn when our son and daughter-in-law sent us a skylight frame. And we put cat pictures. We'd been doing cat fostering, 1 dog, 37 kittens, and 2 cats. So we had, and so we had those on there. And then in Mother's Day a year ago, something showed up that we hadn't put on there. Sonogram. We're going to be grandparents. This is our first grandchild, I think. See, everything changes in an instant, and that was. So that's Oliver. But things, it isn't always in an instant that things change. Sometimes they change gradually and slowly. And they grow on you. They get bigger. So after a visit in November and a visit in February, we made the tough decision that we wanted to be part of. I mean, you've heard of to be or not to be. This is to be part of. That's our son Richard. Or not to be part of. And that's Oliver at 7 months. So things are moving along. He can now crawl backwards. He can't crawl forwards. But I'm sure that's coming. So to be part of or not to be part of, it's a silly question. Of course. So the process for us has been an amazing one of what we're letting go of. Not only household full of stuff, but connections and a familiarity. Although I must admit, all of our children were born in Marin County, California. And that's just across the Santa Fe-Richmond Bridge from where we'll be in Richmond. But I wanted to kind of just leave you with not only, why we're doing what we're doing and kind of where we're going, but in this process of leading our own spiritual life, and as Ginger said, getting away from labeling things good or bad, and why are all the bad things happening to me and the good things happening to other people, but just looking at our life from a perspective of there are 4 important parts of our spiritual path, 4 exercises to make progress, and the first has to do with standing up. And that's really taking care of our physical body, whether it includes diet and exercise and all the things we do to keep ourselves moving and healthy and interacting with those in and around us. The next is showing up, doing our part in a community, not just a spiritual community, although that's important. I've been part of a community of men who get together and tell lies on Friday morning. The Liars Club. And Jim Anderson has been part of that, and some other folks. But being part of a community that connects us with others who may have things to share with us on the journey and help us along the way. So showing up and growing up, being clear on our values and living them. I was never close to my grandparents, and neither was Natalie, for a number of reasons. When I was growing up in Bloomington, Indiana, they were in Chicago, North Carolina, Florida, and they kind of were here and gone. Kind of like to do that a little differently. And waking up, training my mind to see what I'm attached to in the context of impermanence. And thank you for the mention of impermanence, because we often, and religion often aids and abets this notion of something permanent, something fixed, something I can hold on to until I can't. And it really is that internal natural wisdom, that internal Christ experience that is the only permanent thing. And it's been with us since the beginning. It's just that our fears and our anxieties and our desires mask that. So it's really a process of letting go. And it's like in our house, all the stuff that's going out the door to Habitat and Goodwill and so forth is kind of a manifestation of that in physical reality of letting go of all the things we're afraid of, worry about. And that's the process of waking up. It's more about, like we do in the meditation, coming back to my breath, and then noticing what anxiety shows up. What am I focused on that's more important than being with the Lord here in the presence? You know, we often struggle with that, but the struggle is where we need to do our work in figuring out, okay, I can probably make a meditation last more than 15 seconds. I could do 20, you know, and 30. So I just wanted to share that with you and kind of where we're going. We're so delighted to be getting close to our sons. Our son Robert lives in Richmond. Our son Richard and his wife Jennifer live in El Cerrito. And on top of that, when we get out there, our daughter and son-in-law are coming out there for a visit. So we'll all be together, which hasn't happened in 2 years. So thank you for planning, organizing, coming to this celebration of being on the spiritual path. I think they're going to get the hook for me in a minute. And if anybody else, and there are several people on the list, if you'll step up to this microphone, we'd be grateful.
Hello, hello, hello. All right. In 1989, the world was hungry for unity. In 2022, the world is hungry for unity. You and I are hungry for connection with unity. But the unity we seek, the connection we seek, is not primarily here, where we can get lost in abstraction and human thinking. Nor is it primarily here, where we can get lost in sentimentality and human emotions, always changing. The unity we seek, the connection we seek, is deeper, a deeper place. There's been a lot of talk this morning about impermanence. Our lives are busy, changing, constantly. The unity we seek, the connection we seek, is with a power and a presence that is unchanging, transcendent, all-powerful, all-limiting, all-sustaining, all-loving. And when we connect for a moment or a lifetime with that power and that presence, it is transformative. Everything is turned inside out. Our vision becomes clear. It heals our hearts. It heals our hurts. It guides our steps. This is the unity we seek. In 1989, David and Natalie arrived and established a structure. Established a structure where you and I could learn to journey our journeys, where you and I could learn to practice. They established a structure where we could do that, but they did something more. They personally provided examples of living that life, of practicing that practice, of journeying that journey themselves. Examples, models. They did it in 1989. They continue to do it today. Another clergy once told me that the only difference between being a minister and one of us that is sitting in the congregation is that the minister gets to be naked in their journey, in their struggle, which I was glad to hear David mention again this morning. These are not necessarily people that are more peaceful than we are. They get to do it up front and out loud, week after week, month after month, year after year. And some of us followed David for a long time on that journey from week to week, month to month, book to book to book to book. And it was often a very circuitous path that we followed and continue to follow. But it always had one objective, and that objective was always a connection with that deep place, a connection with that presence and power that, when we touch it, is transformative. Always. David and Natalie, you have changed our lives. You've taken us on a journey. And we send you our blessings, our affirmation, as you now enter this next chapter on your journey. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Tell us who you are. Wow, that's a heavy question. Well, I have a name, and it's Susan Dabkowski. So if I were to name one person who's been the most influential in my spiritual development, it would have to be David LeBeau. I've been a part of this Unity of Bloomington community for 35 years and met David 33 years ago when he came to interview for our position as our first full-time minister. So over the years, I've learned so much from David LeBeau, and it's been real difficult to come up with, as Lynn says, be brief, be brief. How can I be brief about 33 years of learning? Now, some of that learning came in structures like the classes and the books, and more books, and then there were more books. And Sunday lessons, oh goodness, countless Sunday lessons. I always learned something from each and every message. But I also learned a lot about unity from David's practicing of the principles. How do we apply that in daily life? One of the things that's outstanding to me, the most endearing and enduring affirmation that David would repeat that I've always remembered, still go back to, is nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. No matter what is going on in my life, in the world, there is an essence within me that is calm peace. That's what nothing can disturb. So I will always treasure that. One of the ways in which David demonstrated unity principles in daily living was to prioritize things that really mattered over material things. One example of that was when he decided, you know, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time and energy like Susan does to make sure her outfits match to the T from head to toe every morning. He said, I'm going to wear khaki pants and blue shirts. And I was just, wow. It was just such a concept. Like, how much simpler would life be if we just all had a bunch of khaki pants, a bunch of blue shirts, and that's what you wear every day. And you don't care what people think. That just always stood out for me. Now I see he's mixed up the blue a little bit with, little patterns and whatnot, but I would have to say that was one of the more profound things. And then I think the thing for which I am the most grateful to David LeBeau is giving me the opportunity to serve Unity of Bloomington as the full-time center administrator for 3.5 years. So the last 3 years of David's full-time ministry, I got to work, play, grow with David and Bob LeBeau. I don't know if Bob was my sidekick or if I was his, but we worked together over 3.5 years, kind of hold down the fort at Unity of Bloomington. And as I said then, and I probably will always think, that was the best job in the whole world. And talk about full immersion in unity principles. I mean, I worked 6 days a week, including 2 services every Sunday. All my friends came to Unity of Bloomington. We had so many groups. It was like 3.5 years of intensive study of unity principles. And I know that has, I'm not going to say changed my life, just reinforced who I really am. Yeah, I have a name, but who I really am was really reinforced during those 3.5 years. I served after David left our full-time service and stayed on until it was time for changing of the guard under Judy Ballard. So that was a new chapter. So thank you for giving me that opportunity, for all the lessons that will always stay with me, and for nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. I'll never get old. Thank you.
Men who tell lies. I've got to remember that. I think it's been referred to as the Unity Men's Breakfast, and nowadays I refer to it as having coffee to save the world every Friday. We haven't done it yet, but we still try. So my name is Jim Anderson, for those that don't know me. I actually came to Unity in 1997. David married me and now my ex-wife, and our paths continued to cross all the time. In fact, he eventually decided he would try his hand at IT and came over to the School of Business and worked with me in our information technology area. And he spread Unity principles there, which was wonderful. He went into a group that was responsible for unpackaging, installing PCs, working on PCs, and he was the recycler. And he recycled, and those folks that were resistant to it, well, they went to Recyclers Anonymous, and they figured it out. And even after he left, they recycle everything now. They feel guilty if they don't. So I would call that a win, definitely a win. So thank you, Lynn, for letting me talk today. And as I thought about what I would say, wow, there's a lot to say. Certainly David and myself and the rest of the board members, I remember they suckered me into being the treasurer, so my condolences, Roy. I understand that. For a number of years, when we moved from Dunn here, we negotiated the deal on the building, and that was an interesting process. I felt like I was not qualified at all, but once again, Unity principles, just step forward and be present. And we were able to acquire the building. What a wonderful building. It was a lot of fun and a little bit stressful, but it turned out pretty good. So as I think about the many different paths that I have been on in my life and switched to, it's interesting, this guy keeps showing up. And I'm getting ready to take 16 scouts and a group of international exchange students from 4 different countries into the Minnesota boundary waters coming up. And when you go into the Minnesota boundary waters, you have absolutely no cell signal. Hallelujah. They'll play with their phones for a couple hours and then they'll be dead, which works. But there are a few critical things as you go into the boundary waters. And it's kind of a metaphor for life. You have a map. And on that map, you have thousands of lakes, hundreds of swamps, and trails that may not have been hiked, very rugged, within the last couple of years. And you have to find your way through all of those different areas. So it's helpful to have a map, but a map doesn't do you any good unless you have a compass. The compass is what you use to orient or center the map, as I would call it. And in this metaphor, the map is your life. Life is what happens when we're making plans. Life is good. There are all sorts of metaphors for life. Well, you can go anywhere you want on the map, but if you got the map backwards, well, that's going to be an exciting and interesting journey. The compass is what helps you orient that map to make it true so you know you're going the right direction, which is critically important when you're looking for trails that haven't been hiked in 3 years. That compass is David. David has a way of centering, I think all of us, but certainly me. He's helped me grow many, many times. He took this domineering, incredibly talkful, will never shut up person and helped change that person into somebody who understands, wait a minute, slow down. Let's enjoy life. Let's step back, take a deep breath, live in the now. What do they say? The past is in the past. The present is the present. And the future, well, it's exciting. It's unwritten. And you'll figure it out along the way. David is one of those folks along my path for the last 25 years that has helped me work on balance and centering my life and centering myself and enjoying the now. And that's a critical part of living a great life. And I thank you for that, David and Natalie. I bless you, and I wish you much success along your continued journey going home to California. We will miss you. Thank you.
I can't do this. My heart is very full, and I want to thank you for being the best partner in ministry that I could ever have asked for. And a total gift. I didn't expect you, didn't know to ask for you, but thank you. And I realized that this is the third time we said goodbye, because David never went away before. But this time he is going away. But I also realized that Oliver Thomas was born on my birthday. So you have no excuse to not remember my birthday now. And I'm grateful that we discovered how to do a Zoom lunch during COVID, so we have that. And Natalie, thank you for loaning him to us for all the hours and the craziness, and letting me borrow him for lunch. I could talk the rest of the day, but I know nobody wants to sit through that, so I'm going to go ahead and ask Jana to go ahead and wrap us up. Thank you all for coming to help me celebrate David, and for saying the profound things that there's just too much to bring it all out. Thank you.
So I'm going to add a few things, and like the instructions, I'm going to be brief. And I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to say just a few words of appreciation of how David LeBeau specifically, and Unity in general, has really changed my life. Briefly, I came to Unity around 1995. I was in my early 30s, from a very deeply Catholic tradition. In hindsight, I could see that I was seeking some connection and spirit, and I was absolutely awed by my first Unity experience. I actually felt acceptance and non-judgment. What? In a church? I don't remember the actual content of David's message, but I do remember at the time that I hung on every single word and every turn of phrase. I even remember laughing a bit in a church. He referenced a bunch of texts other than the Bible and from other faith traditions as well. He talked like, well, anyone can read these books. And obviously, from his wide-ranging references, he was a voracious reader. Ooh la la, a person after my own heart. He talked about something that he called metaphysical interpretation, something I later learned was a key to going deeper into a topic and to explore prescribed literal meanings that I had grown up with, seemingly turning the content inside out and actually making so much more sense. I could understand and I could actually relate to what this man of God was saying. Amazing. Well, I wanted more of this interesting, accepting, calm, non-dramatic, intentional community. Unity rocks. What I learned from David is that Jesus never actually said, go out and build big buildings, name a religion after me, and worship me. He said, "Live like me." And you too can do this. Jesus actually was a radical Jew with long hair and socialist leanings. Whoa. So later on, I decided it was time to address my money issues. So I read everything I could by Unity authors, including Catherine Ponder, and I took David's spiritual economics class. He asked us to get honest and get clear about our attachments, be intentional about our outflow and our inflow, and render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. The old allow, let go, and go with the flow, Unity style. David was my first example of a human who took Jesus' simple but profound invitation personally and demonstrated how to wrestle with life and live truth principles. I will always respect and admire your personal choices. Thank you for being our way shower and my biggest and best influencer. Okay, so now, stepping back into it, we turn now to the spiritual practice of abundance and generosity. We are grateful for the many ways this center supports us in our spiritual growth, and we in turn are happy to support this center with our voluntary service and financial contributions. As the offering bag circulates around the room, we welcome your treasure and your blessing. Simply place your hand over the bag and offer a thought of gratitude before you pass the bag along to the next person. We're really also grateful for those who have already put in place automatic or online giving. Your consistency and dedication help create a stable and thriving spiritual community. As our greeters come forward to prepare for the offering, please join me now in speaking aloud our abundance affirmation. Together, I am an abundant being living in an abundant universe. God is the source of my supply. I am not dependent on people or situations for my good. God is the source of my supply. I always have something to give, and I consistently give it. I expect the best, I give my best, and I now attract the best in every experience. And now we bless our abundance with these words. Together, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I would like to invite you to stand and join with me in saying our closing prayer. Together, We give thanks for the light that fills us, the love that enfolds us, the power that heals us, the presence that guides us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. In gratitude for our radiant health, please remain in place and join in singing together, "Let There Be Peace on Earth."
Thank you very much. We'll see you all next week. And please, let's greet David and Natalie in the back.